The Rams opened the season in beautiful Rocky Mountain country, where Los Angeles scout Jack Faulkner's report helped guide them to victory over the Broncos. John Hadel to Bob Klein put the Rams on the board, and special team star Cullen Bryant flashed 84 yards to seal a 17-10 win.
Last year, the Rams of Coach Chuck Knox gloried in the sun of a 12-2 record, the best in club history. This year, they expect better. For Denver and their coach, John Ralston, last year was also a high-water mark, a season of smiles. But last Sunday, the Broncos needed all the firepower they could possibly muster. So they started with a bang that knocked plucky Jim Bertelsen for a looping somersault. But the Rams weren't easily intimidated, and they breezed to an early lead as John Hadel hit tight end Bob Klein in the end zone. A repeat shows just how wide open the 6-year veteran from Southern Cal was on the last play. The Broncos tried gamely to keep pace on the slashing runs of number 24 Otis Armstrong, which led to a Denver field goal and cut the home team's deficit to 7 points. But on the following kickoff, the Rams' Cullen Bryant parlayed a combination of muscle and speed for 84 yards, and as they say in the trade, that's all she wrote. Bryant, who's listed as a third-string running back, points up the Ram talent and depth that's going to have a lot of coaches going to their hankies this year. The Never Say Die Broncos came up with their lone touchdown of the day on a Charlie Johnson connection to Billy Van Heusen. That closed the scoring gap to 17-10. But then the Rams defense, led by the ageless and perennial All-Pro number 74, Merlin Olsen, rode the Broncos down. The constant Ram pressure forced Denver into mistakes of execution and withered their confidence as the Rams took the victory 17-10. For the Broncos, the loss was disheartening, for they as a team feel they have arrived. Despite the loss, chances are good they're right, and there will be some great, beautiful Colorado football days.
When the Saints came marching into the Coliseum, they were marched over in force by a Ram defense which held them scoreless. Meanwhile, the offense rolled up 24 points for win number 2.
More than one NFL quarterback has felt the snap, crackle, and heard the pop of Los Angeles' new fearsome foursome. When New Orleans quarterback Archie Manning avoided the punishing pursuit, he was able to deliver one long gainer to number 88, Joel Parker. However, that was just about it, as the Los Angeles defense simply exploded in on Archie and the Saints. The Rams turned the Saints everywhere but loose, sacking Manning 5 times while running roughshod through the New Orleans offense. Offensively for the Rams, number 21, John Hadel, eased passes through the scattered Saints secondary for good gains. Twice, Hadel's strikes put points on the board. The first to big play receiver Harold Jackson, number 29. Hadel's second scoring volley went to Jack Snow as the Rams demolished New Orleans 24-0.
In the season's third week, Coach Chuck Knox, General Manager Don Klosterman, and owner Carol Rosenblum journeyed to New England for the Battle of the Unbeatens. But disappointment was the order of the day as the Rams offense misfired and missed by inches. The vastly improved Patriots went on to hand the Rams their first defeat of the year by a 20-14 score.
The Rams started strong with their brutal front four getting to Jim Plunkett early. Then Los Angeles put their many-faceted running attack into gear and gouged gains steadily en route to a score. The final increment was tacked on by Tony Baker, number 35, and Los Angeles led as expected. However, at the end, Lance Rensel did get his touchdown. But sadly for the Rams, it was too little, too late. And so, New England's 20-14 victory over a team many thought invincible proves that the Patriots should be in the thick of things all year.
The next week found the Lions in the Coliseum, and they ran into a kung fu fighter as well as a black belt defense. Number 74, Merlin Olsen, led a crushing attack on the Detroit offense. However, the Los Angeles offense was not as strong as it might have been, even though number 45, Jim Bertelsen, carved out some nice chunks of yardage. Even Lawrence McCutcheon, on his way to a club record 1,109-yard season, could not inspire an offensive explosion. Bob Klein's score helped finish a narrow 16-13 victory.
In Los Angeles, the martial arts are almost as popular as the Dodgers and the Rams, but even where superheroes are concerned, the going can get surprisingly tough. And this sun-soaked Southern California afternoon started out looking like one of those days for the Rams, when Dave Chappell's punt was blocked by Levi Johnson and recovered by Ken Sanders of the Detroit Lions. Led by their own Sunshine Superman, number 74, Merlin Olsen, the Rams defense turned away this early threat by the Lions with no points on the board. Late in the first quarter, Lawrence McCutcheon, number 30, burst up the middle for 15 of his 124 yards he would gain on the afternoon. 12 plays later, John Hadel completed the 80-yard drive with this 4-yard scoring pass to tight end Bob Klein, and Los Angeles took a 7-0 lead. But Detroit's improved defense struck right back on the Rams' next series. John Hadel's pass was short-circuited by number 72 Ernie Price, a second-year defensive end from Texas A&I. But the play was nullified by a roughing the passer penalty, and Los Angeles maintained possession. John Hadel picked out Lance Rensel with this aerial, marking Hadel's 2,000th completion as a pro, and setting up a short field goal by David Ray, giving Los Angeles a 10-0 lead at half. Late in the third quarter, Tony Baker rammed over from 2 yards out, and a missed extra point left the Rams' advantage at 16-0. But on a day that was proving to be surprisingly tough for superheroes in general, the Detroit defense would allow the Rams' well-stacked attack no more scoring opportunities. And it was the Lions who began taking the play to the Rams as Bill Munson exceeded 10,000 yards in passing offense for a career just before he hit Ron Jesse with his 34-yard spectacular, narrowing the score to 16-7 at the top of the fourth period. too late in the last quarter, with just 24 seconds remaining, Munson found Charlie Sanders open in the end zone. An Errol Mann's missed extra point try made the final score 16-13 at the end of a difficult victory for Los Angeles, reminding the superheroes everywhere that success need not always be unblemished.
In rainy, gloomy Milwaukee, the offense continued to sputter, and the Rams lost to Green Bay 17-6. With their record at 3-2, the playoff picture was dimming. It was time for Chuck Knox to reassess the team's strengths and weaknesses, its goals, and their probabilities. It was a time of unsettling self-doubt and a time to put the playoff express on the right track before it was too late. As part of the reassessment program, James Harris became the starting quarterback, and in a shrewd, gutty trade, Carroll Rosenblum dealt John Hadle to Green Bay for 5 high draft choices. The reason? James Harris had shown ability, leadership, and against Green Bay, poise. The Rams staff had utmost confidence in him. The 49ers found this confidence was not misplaced as Harris picked them apart, hitting 12 of 15 for 276 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a sensational start on his way to becoming the NFC's second leading passer. Harris finished his tour de force on the run as the Rams defeated the 49ers 37-14.
In the land of Oz, also known as Los Angeles, the 49ers traveled the yellow brick road. But despite the fact that Dorothy's daughter and her husband, the Tin Man son, were among the onlookers, the Niners could find no wizard to guide them last week. The San Franciscans went over the rainbow only twice. The first time was on a Tom Owen to Terry Beasley connection that came when the game was virtually out of reach. Beasley's exuberance is probably due to the fact that a shutout had been averted. Second string first-year man Tom Owen's other scoring toss was to number 40, Wilbur Jackson, who was also a first-year man. Unfortunately for the 49ers, 2 touchdowns were not enough to compete with the effectiveness of 2 of the Rams' strongest elements. First was the Los Angeles defense led by number 42, Dave Elmendorf, who stole 1 pass and sped 52 yards to give the Rams a 7-0 lead. Then came new starting quarterback James Harris, who exploded with dazzling effectiveness. He hit number 30, Lawrence McCutcheon, on a 50-yard catch and sprint to make it 14-0. Then only moments later, he lobbed a 13-yarder to McCutcheon, and the game was virtually decided. A repeat of that last play shows that not only is Harris accomplished at the play-action fake, but can also deliver a soft pass when it's called for. And then there's another facet to his game. He's not afraid to take the money and run, which he did to boost the Los Angeles lead to 27-0. Then came the 49ers' 2 scores, and then came Jimmy Harris once again. This time he unloaded a long bomb to Harold Jackson to set up a short headstand and a short Ram field goal. Finally, Harris capped his debut with another toss and sprint to Swift Harold to make the final Los Angeles 37, San Francisco 14. Jimmy Harris, 12 for 15, 276 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no interception. And now with the Rams pulling away in the standings, the 49ers find themselves very much with their backs to the wall.
Across the country again in windy Shea Stadium, the Los Angeles defense roared in to blow the Jets down. The New Yorkers learned firsthand why the Rams would lead the NFL in rushing defense in 1974. On offense, the Rams didn't match their explosiveness of the week before, but Lawrence McCutcheon came up with one of the most spectacular touchdown runs of the season. Oh, my. Quarterback James Harris proved a double threat with some fancy footwork to go with his howitzer arm, and the Rams racked up victory number 5, 20-13.
The New York Jets can do anything the New York Knicks can do, except win consistently. Although last week they did keep the Rams' James Harris from throwing effectively, they could not contain his impromptu scrambling. And it was James Harris running that gave the Rams an early 6-0 lead. But then the Jets took over on a 2-yard score by Mike Adamle and this Emerson Boozer 14-yarder. The New Yorkers maintained their 13-6 lead until the fourth quarter on the strength of a gutsy, dusty defense. But in the waning seconds of the third period, Harris finally got the sputtering Rams going. Then on the first play of the last period, Lawrence McCutcheon went in from 23 yards out to tie the score at 13. Three plays later, a Charlie Stooks interception set up another McCutcheon score, and the Rams took the lead. Then, as so often happens of late, Joe Namath, in trying to get his team back into the game, was intercepted by number 20, Steve Priest. And the Rams had victory number 5, 20-13, to strengthen their hold on the NFC Western League.
In San Francisco for a Monday night game before a nationwide TV audience, the Rams broke in waves over the 49er quarterback and drew a bead on his number. Power runner Tony Baker blasted in for one score as Los Angeles vaulted into an early lead. Then the defense came up with a big play. Number 90, Larry Brooks, forced a fumble. And number 36, Ken Geddes, recovered. Harrison Klein then went to work to make the Los Angeles lead comfortable. But late in the game, the 49ers rallied. With time running out, they were on the move, and they trailed by only 2 at 15-13. Now, in the waning seconds, the defense needed another big play. With Merlin Olsen putting on the pressure, Norm Snead unloaded into the waiting arms of linebacker Isaiah Robertson, and the Rams spot atop the NFC West went unchallenged. After 2 weeks on the road, home was a welcome sight, and the Rams celebrated by sending Heisman Trophy winner John Cappelletti on a tear against the Falcons. The defense celebrated by registering its second shutout of the year, as it offered no escape, either on the ground or in the air. James Harris, improving week by week, led the offense to 21 points, including 2 scoring shots to number 29, Harold Jackson. The impressive victory made the Rams record 7-2. There was no denying the Rams Express seemed playoff-oriented.
After persistent rumors, Norm Van Brocklin was fired last week, and defensive coach Marion Campbell was named to direct the Falcons until season's end. But his job is certainly unenviable when you consider that last Sunday, a peanut jockey in Los Angeles sometimes seemed to have as good a pitching arm as fallen hero General Bob Lee. It actually wasn't that Lee was off target so much as it was that the general was the target for blue and gold sack seekers. Four times Lee passing fancies were preempted by Ram defenders whose savage play completely dominated the Atlanta offense. But if the Falcons' O was shut down, the Rams' attack was turned on, primarily by the explosive burst of number 30, Lawrence McCutcheon. In 22 carries, number 30 gained 140 yards, which gave him a league-leading 859 yards for the season. But last Sunday, Lawrence McCutcheon was only part of the Rams' attack as James Harris started to warm up a high-potency weapon called Harold Jackson. Harold blew a called strike on the first bomb, but came right back with a 40-yard catch and score that put the Rams' first 7 points on the board. But it was only the beginning, because in the fourth quarter, Harris was trying to reestablish a habit as he threw another one for Jackson to run under. Harold's diving catch summed up the 21-0 LA victory and promised a renewed dimension of offensive fireworks for the playoff-bound Rams. But the only touchdown the Rams could muster came the hard way when tight end Bob Klein bolted his way through the Saints secondary as New Orleans washed out the Rams 20-7.
In Week 10, the Rams suffered a loss in New Orleans, and when they came home, some people now wondered if they could match strengths with the Super Bowl-bound Vikings. Before the largest crowd to see an NFL game in 15 years, James Harris drove the Rams for their first score, and they trailed 13-6. The Vikings retaliated and led 17-6 in the last quarter. Late in the game, the defense got the ball twice for Harris. The first time, the Rams scored after a great drive, and when the defense held again, the Rams were on the march. 10 times in a row, Harris connected on crucial passes. With but a minute left, the Rams were faced with the biggest play of their season, a play that Coach Knox and the men involved in it tailored on the sideline for this special situation. It was do or die. Jack Snow's score gave the Rams more than win number 9 because in addition to proving they could perform under pressure, their victory clinched first place in the NFC West.
Up in Minnesota, frost has long been on the pumpkin. But in Los Angeles, the butterfly still courts the hibiscus. And the sunshine star-spangled beauties tell the seasons by whatever turns them on. And if it's the Rams, it must be autumn. But the Vikings brought the stinging breath of winter with them from Minnesota, and Fran Tarkenton threatened to freeze dry the local darlings early with back-to-back bombs. First to Jim Lash, next to John Gilliam. Having covered most of the field in 2 plays, the Vikings got the remaining yards the hard way as Chuck Foreman bounced up and over to give Minnesota a 10-0 second quarter advantage. But Jimmy Harris rallied his Sunshine Soldiers on their next possession, and this pass to Jack Snow dented the Winter Warriors for 22 yards. After 10 plays and 63 yards, Harris himself did the honors. But a missed extra point left Los Angeles an awkward 4 points away, trailing 10-6. With less than a minute remaining in the half, Tarkenton moved the Viking offense to the front burner, with 6 consecutive completions covering 65 yards. The key play being this 26-yarder to Chuck Foreman. And after 7 plays in 38 seconds, Tarkenton hit Foreman again, making the Minnesota Vikings halftime advantage 17-6. In the third quarter, neither of the adversaries could alter the score. But early in the fourth quarter, Jimmy Harris began heating up the Cold War, hitting 10 straight passes, including this one to Lawrence McCutcheon, just before Harris again dived over, making the spread Vikings 17, Rams 13. And though the Vikings ate up more than 5 minutes on their next possession, time enough remained when Harris again took to the firing line and began finding sticky-fingered receivers. Under the 2-minute mark, Harris lobbed 8 yards to Jack Snow, all alone as an interloper in Valhalla, and it was the Vikings who felt the hard frost of defeat. A repeat shows the poise and clutch touch of Jimmy Harris, intangibles that may have decided the Rams head coach Chuck Knox to trade away the veteran John Hadle. And though the Rams have been less impressive this year than last, this come from behind 20-17 victory affords Ram fans every reason to look forward to the NFC playoffs with optimism.
Week 12, the Rams breezed as Harris again connected with Jack Snow for a long 6. However, the key to victory was turned by the defense as it came up with 5 second-half interceptions, like this one by number 42, Dave Elmendorf, which put the Falcons away 30-7.
In Atlanta, the warm promise of Indian summer has withered in the sting of an early winter. Last week, temperatures in the 20s and gusting winds took the bloom off Peachtree Street and mirrored the fortunes of the local football team. Since opening day, the Falcons have become blackbirds, from playoff promise to dissension and defeat, a depressing march of lost causes and disappearing fans. The disappointments and the chill led to an NFL record 44,000 no-shows. So, against the Los Angeles Rams, the sound of one-hand clapping greeted local hero Pat Sullivan, number 7, at quarterback. Sullivan actually kept his team competitive for much of the first half with an ad-lib passing attack. Ken Burrow escaped for 48 yards and set up to a bi-monthly event, a Falcon touchdown. Vince Kendrick found a gaping hole, and Atlanta had their second score in 4 games, also their last. The pressure was off the Los Angeles defense as the Rams were the first NFL team to clinch their division. But the number 2 ranked defense in the NFC was not about to give in to the 13th ranked offense. Sullivan and Burrow began to find yardage much tougher to come by as the Rams closed off every avenue of possible escape. The Ramrodders shut down the Falcons and then sent them packing. Number 42, Dave Elmendorf, glad-handed a Sullivan mistake and weaved 57 yards for a score. In all, the Ram defense chipped in with 5 interceptions, more than enough to set up number 12, James Harris in real style. The man on whom the Rams now base their playoff hopes responded with some pretty pocket passing. Harris grows more confident in his number 1 role with each successive game, and he showed a winner's finesse on this needle threader to Jack Snow. With the Rams in command, another area was tested, bench strength. Off the hardwood thundered John Capoletti, number 22, with a little Penn State power running. In relief, Capoletti had his best pro game to date. Regular Jim Bertelsen scored 2 short TDs, and the Rams stayed ready with a 30-7 victory. For the long-suffering Blackbirds, 2 more games must seem like an eternity in a season that didn't quite come off as planned.
A Monday night game, the Redskins needed to win to make the playoffs themselves. Washington's Billy Kilmer riddled the Rams with short passes to put the Redskins on top. Quarterback Ron Jaworski came in for the injured Harris and performed admirably, leading the Rams in a last-period rally. Unfortunately, the rally fell short, and the Rams were beaten 23-17 by a team they would meet 2 weeks later in the playoffs. In the last game of the regular season, the Buffalo Bills were in town, and so was the amazing Ashley Whippet, receiver extraordinaire. Harris threw his own brand of frisbee to Tony Baker. A touchdown to number 33, Rob Scribner, wrapped up the schedule with a victory and a 10-4 overall record, to which all had contributed, but
only in Los Angeles would a fire hydrant come to the game disguised as a fluorescent frisbee. And the Buffalo Bills came in the guise of a playoff team, but didn't look like it. In fact, even O.J. got squeezed repeatedly by the Rams' crunching defense. And while Jack the Hacksaw Reynolds took a breather, he was exhorted on to even greater acts of disruption. But the Bills decided there was time for a little disruption of their own, and they kept the Harris-Jackson combo out of the end zone. Finally, O.J. Simpson found a novel way to fool the Rams' defense. His running pop-up was covered by number 27, Ahmad Rashad, and the Bills led 7-0. It wasn't until the third quarter that Harris found the range and began to connect with the likes of Lance Rensel, number 19. But once Harris got going, he got tough, hitting Rob Scribner to put the Rams up 7-6. Then, after another power drive, Harris rolled around in and made the score 13-7. And Ron Jaworski later added another one-yard score to make it 19-7. The Bills tried gamely to come back, and a big play from Joe Ferguson to J.D. Hill accounted for 55 yards and another Buffalo touchdown. But the Easterners fell short 19-14. And thanks to the Rams' fine 10-4 season, the Coliseum Seagulls will get at least another week's diet of half-eaten hot dogs.
For Los Angeles, the contest had deep meaning because the Rams had not won a postseason game since their World Championship year of 1951. This game would determine what progress the new Rams organization was making toward the ultimate, a World Championship for Los Angeles. From the very outset, the game proved to be one of physical and brutal strength against strength. Both teams got in their licks. Both sides exacted a toll for anything they gave up. Relentlessly, James Harris drove the Rams on the Redskin goal. His pass to Bob Klein put the first points on the board. And after a Redskin score, the battle got down to basics. Crunching and clawing, the Rams defense began to win the battle of the trenches. Merlin Olsen's heroic charges caused 2 fumbles, and both times the alert Rams recovered. David Ray fired home 2 clutch field goals, and the Los Angeles lead held at 13-10 as time became a factor. Now the Redskins were forced to Sonny Jurgensen and to the air. But this time, unlike the Monday night loss, the Rams' pass defense was impenetrable as Bill Simpson intercepted in the end zone. Jack Reynolds put the stopper on another drive with his interception, and the Rams could sense the kill. Then it came. Under a withering rush, Jurgensen's arm was hit in mid-pass by Merlin Olsen, and Isaiah Robertson picked off the misdirected missile. Isaiah's amazing touchdown run sealed the Rams' greatest victory of 1974, final 19-10. For Coach Chuck Knox, his staff and players, it was a moment of unsullied joy. But more, it was a moment of accomplishment. For by this victory, the final goal of a world championship for the football fans of Los Angeles is now one step closer.
Stadium on a fine new day, the 29th day of December, bright with sunshine and great expectations, answered the first question that was to be settled on this day of the NFC Championship game in 1974. Whether the weather or the players would be the most significant factor in this meeting between the Los Angeles Rams and the Minnesota Vikings in Bloomington, Minnesota. On well-kept grounds and in brisk, invigorating 30-degree weather, both the Rams and Vikings fully expected to take their victory at the line of scrimmage, unimpeded by the nuisance of bad weather. Each intended to roll over the other using the same well-polished tactics with similar game plans built around extraordinarily powerful offensive and defensive front sevens. And if there was an advantage prior to kickoff, it was because of this man, Bud Grant, the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings. The only man ever to lose 2 Super Bowls, and nobody connected with the Vikings organization needed to be reminded of the importance of this next-to-last step on the road back to sweet redemption. Having lost a regular season encounter with the Rams 2017 in Los Angeles, the Minnesota Vikings were completely aware of the challenge ahead. First downs later, this Viking uprising was laid firmly to earth by Freddie Dreyer, who summed up much of the professional spirit prior to the game when he was asked about playing against Tarkenton, an old friend and a teammate from the New York Giants. "I love Fran," he said, "but I hate those Viking uniforms." With under 2 minutes remaining in the half, Foreman was stripped of the ball by Jack Youngblood, and the Rams had one last chance to rally their uncertain offense and get on the board. Watch the value of a tall quarterback as Jim Harris drops back, and with a clear line of vision over the Minnesota rush, he finds Jack Snow for a 19-yard gain to get the Rams in gear. Another perfectly thrown ball caught by Lawrence McCutcheon brought the ball to the Viking 18. But with 3rd and 2 at the 10, the Rams' first impressive offensive effort sputtered when Harris bounced this dart off McCutcheon's hands. A super quick move and near interception by Alan Page almost stilled the drive. But with 4th down, 1:12 remaining, needing 2 at the 10, the Rams still had a choice. They chose a field goal and left the field trailing 7-3 after a bewildering first half for 2 usually very disciplined teams. To any play, but it is doubtful that this one was contained in the Ram playbook. Harold Jackson didn't quite have enough steam to get around Jeff Wright, who pushed him out at the 2-yard line. It was to be a crucial 2 yards. But more on that later. Cost the Rams dearly. Wally. Though there was still lots of time left, Harris chose to go right to the air, finding tight end Bob Klein for 10 yards. Harris finished the drive when he nailed Harold Jackson from 44 yards out. It had taken the Rams just 5 plays to get back to within 4 points. On a repeat, notice another good play fake by Harris, and Tom Mack's good block on Alan Page, the only lineman to penetrate. Then, with lots of time, Harris threw a strike to Jackson, and no one was going to catch him this time. 9 minutes still remained, and if the Ram defense held, there would be plenty of time for the Rams to go ahead. And they did hold. Back another 17 yards. Rams had been blown out of their good field position, but still another 5.5 minutes remained. Minnesota still had one break left, and it would finally finish the Rams season when Foreman fumbled and the chase was on again. Now that they've earned a berth in Super Bowl IX, where one win can soothe a lot of past heartache. Quite frankly, the Vikings were a little bit lucky today in their 14-10 victory over the Rams. They'll have to play a lot better and hold on to the ball a lot tighter if they hope to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers in New Orleans on Super Sunday.
Shimmered in the air. Throughout the afternoon, the Rams were besieged by strange penalties, fumbles, and mishaps, and their big plays led to frustration. In the final analysis, the team's Super Bowl hopes lay a tantalizing few inches away. Inches that fate would turn into the long miles home. But this loss could not deny the Rams' great season and a hallmark victory in the playoffs. A victory that in 1974 moved the Los Angeles Rams' ultimate goal of a world championship one step closer.